My name is Jairo de Jesus. I am the Senior Director of Operations for Sugarville Bakery in Tucker, Georgia.
My name's John Hudson. I am the co-owner of Wintech Incorporated. We're a precision aerospace machine shop in Kennesaw, Georgia. Bought the company October will be 4 years ago with my business partner, Allison Giddens.
Yeah, so I work with a program called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. It works, we work with small mid-sized manufacturers. The easiest way to say it, oh, there's John. The
Yeah,
easiest way,
I just see that he had some technical difficulties getting his Zoom together. So you
Yeah.
go and then we'll go back to John.
Okay. So we work with small, mid-sized manufacturers. We cover the whole state. I just work in North Metro Atlanta. Primarily, I work as a matchmaker to connect manufacturers with resources that can provide them support with what they need. So at the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, we have resources that help with quality systems, developing strategies for business, cybersecurity, sustainability, a bunch of different areas where we can support manufacturing throughout the state of Georgia.
Tell us about your career path and how did you end up in your current role?
So my career path really kind of started back while I was in college. In my sophomore year, I saw myself in a situation where I had to run out of scholarship money and I had to get a job to kind of help us apply for college. I went to work for Tyson Mexico Regional in Springdale, Arkansas, where we make tortilla shells. It was a food manufacturing, and inside the facility, I did every single job besides being a blender operator and a forklift driver that requires certification. And due to the amount of time that I have in the company, I didn't have enough time to get a certification. So working in the manufacturer, working in food, I really enjoyed the environment. I really enjoyed what I was doing. And for me, being industrial engineer, it's like, that I see the similarities here or learning the industrial engineer concepts and be able to apply into the manufacturing setting. So I went back to college and after school, I went into the logistics field for a little while. And within 2 or 3 years, I saw myself back in manufacturing again. I've been doing food manufacturing for over 20 years. And I really kind of grow in the food industry. I started out as a supervisor and manager and as a director. And for the last 15 years, I've been running facilities, basically responsible for the entire organization when it comes to food manufacturing.
My career path, that's a good one. Well, that's going to go back to high school. I was fortunate enough, I went to Osborne High School in Marietta, and I was fortunate enough to have a plethora of different shop classes. We had auto mechanic, we had building construction, we had welding, and we had machining. And I took welding and I took machining, and I liked both of those, but I was not the best of students. So Osborne High School asked me to leave, so I went to an alternative school and didn't work out there. So I wound up taking my GED and worked various jobs until I decided I wanted to be a machinist like my brother was, my older brother. So I went to Chattahoochee Tech and started taking machine and tool. And I started out, my first shop was Merida Machine and Tool, and swept the floors and eventually learned how to run some of the different machines. And I was there about a year, and I was going to Chattahoochee Tech at night full time and working full time. And then I interviewed with Wintech in probably 1990. And the owner at the time was Dennis Winslow. And he asked me what I wanted to, where I saw myself in 20 years. And I said, sitting in your seat. Well, started with him at Wintech, started here at Wintech. I swept the floors again, cleaned machines, learned more machines, learned how to program the machines, and just learned how to run every piece of equipment that we have on our shop floor, all CNCs, water jets, mills, lathes. And then I moved into the routing aspect of the company, which a router here, they take the blueprint and they decide how that job's going to proceed through the shop. So I did that for, I don't know, about 6 to 8 months. And then he gave me the opportunity to be the router and run the machine shop. So I was then the manager of the shop. And that's kind of how I got here, because after he started the company in 1988, and like I said, in 2020 he had enough, and me and my business partner bought him out. So that's how I got here.
Yeah, it's kind of a zigzag story, a little bit, jumped around a little bit, but it started out when I joined a manufacturing company, working in the quality control lab on second shift when I was finishing up college. So last year or two of college, worked in this facility. When I graduated, I started with that company full time as an employee. Eventually moved into supervision at that plant. Got an opportunity to take a process engineering role and move to South Carolina. This was in Wisconsin when I started. Was at that company for a few years, got a little bit more training in lean and continuous improvement tools and techniques. So then had a chance to transfer within the same company. There was different acquisitions to the Atlanta area, where I worked for about 4 years. And then a person that had previously trained me in lean techniques and continuous improvement methodologies had left her organization, went to work for Georgia Tech. And then ultimately I was looking for something different to do and joined Georgia Tech that way about 19 years ago. Worked as a project manager, helping companies and working with companies over time. And then I moved into this latest role as region manager probably about 10 years ago. And now I kind of serve predominantly as a matchmaker to connect manufacturers with resources where they have needs.
What is it like working in manufacturing? What is the culture like in manufacturing?
Work in manufacturing is really exciting. It's really dynamic. You're going to deal with a lot of different people. We're going to have different sites from 100 employees to 500 employees. Very diverse, different backgrounds, different capabilities, different type of equipment, different type of technology, some more advanced than others. Is a very rewarding career. It's a very rewarding industry to be in, because you're able to apply a lot of different concepts. You're able to see a lot of different things. And the biggest thing is to be able to work with different personalities, different cultures, and be able to motivate different people to achieve the same goal. So it's a very rewarding industry to work in.
It's pretty unique in the sense that there's a lot of, don't get me wrong, my company, we're all one team, but you're not typically working on a part with someone else. So you're kind of your own boss and ruler of your destiny when it comes to making that part. You're in control of that machine. You're in control of how that part's going to come out. So you do have the camaraderie of having everybody in a shop, but you are focused on your print, because of the 40 people out there on the shop floor that I have currently, they're all working on a different part. So each one's got their own job, their own part that they're having to make. So, so it's you work independent a lot, but you also have the teamwork aspect, because you may be making an assembly or a machine that's going to do something. And if you're making part A and 3 other people are making, part B, C, D, and they all have to come together and work as one, well, there may be some fits or tolerances that you guys need to collaborate on to make that happen. So, but for the most part, you work very independent, and you're the driver of that job.
Yeah. So different from John, he's machining parts. Obviously he sees a lot of different things, and they work for a lot of different companies and build a lot of parts for a lot of different things. I see a lot of those different companies that some of his parts may go into, et cetera. And so one thing I think that I really like is that, particularly in my role, it's ever changing. So I'm getting to see new things, new challenges, new problems every day. And even within a plant or a company, generally speaking, over time, there's things are ever changing within that organization. New technologies, new equipment, new things you have to learn to continue to advance to make those parts, to get better at making them and making even better quality parts. So that's something I think I like, is there's definitely change. It's not particularly always static. And so you kind of get to use your mind a lot as you're working in an industry. Concerning the culture, I think, I like the manufacturing industry. I like to think we're a little more grounded and down to earth. Right? Like kind of the real people that are, our heads not out there in the sky, but right, you're getting to the down and dirty of it, where you're touching parts and making things, etc. And so I think that's good. I would say in any company though, in the manufacturing industry, I mean, you have, for the most part, cultures are very good and welcoming and accepted, but you do have some, I don't want to say bad seeds out there. I think it's just a matter of finding a fit that fits for you and the way you like to work and the folks that you like to work with, and finding that right match within that company. So cultures can vary across different companies. Not that they're good or bad, or one's better than the other, but sometimes it's a good idea to find that right fit for you.
What skills and traits do you think are necessary to succeed in manufacturing?
One of the biggest things that we do, a lot of people start, if you start thinking about the skills and trades, we're going to start thinking about, oh, I need to have this type of education and so forth, which is definitely very, very helpful. I'm never going to discard the fact that if you're going to have a college degree, it's going to definitely give you a leg up as far as giving the ability to apply different concepts. But the biggest thing in working in a manufacturing, to me, almost like any jobs, are the soft skills. Are you a good team player? Are you able to be very coachable? Are you work well with others? Are you on time? Are you reliable? These type of skills are going to take you a long, long way, because if you have those type of soft skills, we will teach you everything else. Whatever industry you decide to work in, you're going to learn what is required for the job. But those skills I just talk about, those soft skills, you gotta bring that with yourself, because that's what's gonna make you differentiate yourself from somebody else and to be able to have opportunities to grow. So along with have some good technical skills and capability, but those soft skills are very, very important for in working at manufacturing site.
You need to be someone who likes to be able to create stuff, take a blank canvas, if you will, a blank piece of material, and turn it into a part. Something that may go on an F-22, it may go on an F-35, it may go on in a weapon system, it may go into a machine that makes cookies. There's really nothing that you touch throughout your everyday, unless it grows out of the ground or it's your skin or someone else's skin. Everything has its start in a machine shop. Everything. I don't care what it is. People go, well, what about a t-shirt? Well, a t-shirt, it's made from different materials, but all those materials were processed through machines that the parts to that machine were made in a machine shop. Everything starts in a machine shop. We're kind of like the wizard behind the screen, in the Wizard of Oz. We're kind of behind the scenes, because most trades and other jobs you see every day when you drive down the road, you can see someone building something, you see someone painting something, you see an electrician, you see HVAC folks working on your air conditioners. You don't really see machinist or manufacturing unless you go into a plant. So it's kind of, you don't really see it. It's not out there in view.
So I mean, I feel like the basic math and science are very critical in manufacturing. I mean, John could tell you his guys are reading blueprints, right? They got to know measurements and things of that nature. So just that basic math and science. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to that level of science and or math, but definitely you want to have those. As John mentioned, a lot of problem solving, right? So, working with your hands, building stuff. If you're, in construction, building with wood, working on your car, trying to figure out how to solve problems, right? And then how to use the tools and the materials to do that. So I think problem solving is a big part of it. And then last, I think, as I mentioned, in ever-changing times with new technologies and things of that nature, is the ability to continue to learn. So continuing to find ways, how can I learn? How can I expand my skill sets, my capabilities? But having that drive and that skill set to be able to continue to learn.
How do you see manufacturing changing over the next few years?
That is an outstanding question. You know, like I said, I've been in food for over 20 years, and I have seen a lot of it developing, a lot of the growth. Technology, I can see a lot of technology continue to improve. We're talking about AI now being part of the process. I have seen some of the concepts that AI has brought into the manufacturing side. A lot of automation. We have automation continue to be well implemented into the food industry and the food manufacturing. Some of the automation that was more advanced towards the automotive industry. You see some of this type of automation now going to the food manufacturing. People want to have the ability to use more of those skills, more electronic-based, computer-based type of processes. I see more advancement comes to that standpoint. Regulations continue to enhance and improve to make sure that your food is safe and so forth. You're going to continue to have more regulations associated with that and more technology.
It's constantly changing. Additive manufacturing is coming on strong, and additive manufacturing is 3D printing. But it has its limitations. The technology, since I've been in the trade, has just grown, beyond comprehension, really, because when I started, there were a lot more machines on the shop floor to do various tasks, but because of the technology advances they've made in the actual cutting tools and the CNC machines, that's allowed them to do away with some of the older machines, such as shapers, horizontal mills, the conventional horizontal mills. So the technology is constantly changing, especially with the CNC aspect, and the CAD system, CAD and CAM system that we use. Computer aided machining, just the CAM system, that goes a long way. But being able to draw a part and tool path that part using the machine or the CAM software, but you still have to have the practical applications to be able to put it on the machine and know what that machine's going to do. So that's where you need, your fundamentals of machining, as well as the technology that comes with the computer side of the world.
Well, and just to build on what you said there a second ago, the 3D printed house, and they have Wi-Fi problems. Well, when they create that problem, someone comes and tries to solve that, right? So that's what's really interesting about the ever-changing and evolution of technologies. And there's a new problem. How do we solve it? So I would say, how do I see the industry changing? And I, John and I, we've got some years on us. I don't know why his hair's not as gray as mine. I was doing the math there on when we started, but probably back when we were kids, the US was going to be a service economy, and there was like manufacturing's dirty and it's not a great industry. And in some cases, historically speaking, that's true. But where I continue to see the industry change is it's not necessarily a dirty doing the same thing every day, right? If you had a chance to walk through John's shop, I mean, they keep it neat as a whistle in there, right? It's probably, cleaner than half of the folks' homes that work there, right? Depending on where you fall. So, and they take pride in that, right? They take pride in having a clean, a good shop, and it helps them do their job better. So I think you're going to continue to see that advance where, shops and things are just a lot more clean, a lot more organized. But to build on what John said, a few of the areas I see, obviously automation comes into play. It doesn't mean that it gets rid of people. It just means that people are doing different jobs, right? So those mundane tasks that you may think are very boring, et cetera, well, they're going to put a robot, or they're going to have some equipment or machine do that job, but then someone's still going to have to be there to manage the robots, if you will, right? And maintain and do that. And that doesn't necessarily, with some of the new technologies, require you to have a computer science degree, right? There's cobots that exist that'll say if you can use an iPhone, you can program a cobot, right? So clearly it might require a few more skills in that, but I'll say my kids always tell me I'm not so adept at using my iPhone either. So I think the automation is a big thing. As John mentioned, advances in equipment. I mean, 3D printing is really coming a long way. That's a whole new technology. It's new equipment. It's a new way to do things. So there's always advancements in equipment. CNCs, as John mentioned, when he started working with them, very primitive, and now have come a long way. So that's important. Data is a big thing. You hear about, I mean, we're basically a product to every social media platform that they collect our data and figure out how can they sell us stuff or use it for different ways. So data and manufacturing is very critical. And then I'll say the last one is artificial intelligence is a big deal. I think people are trying to figure out. I don't know where I see it applying so much on the physical shop floor where you're making this stuff, but I think artificial intelligence will definitely have applications in on the office side of things, as John mentioned, in procurement, in receiving and getting quotes out. So I feel like AI will have some part to play in that side, maybe more on the office side than on the shop floor.
What advice do you have for those who are just starting out in manufacturing?
If you just start your career in manufacturing, be very coachable, be very open-minded, knowing that where you start is not where you're going to end. What people are looking for as an associate, as an employee, are you coachable? Are you willing to go the extra mile? Are you reliable? Can you learn? How do you have leadership skills? And the leadership skills that people are looking for is doing the right things when people are watching. That is very, very important. And also be able to influence others to do the right things. As you show those type of skills and you show those types of attitudes, people are going to start noticing you and going to start to invest more on you. I think I mentioned that before. Everything that you need to learn in the food in a manufacturing setting period, people want to teach you what you need to learn as far as skills wise. But if you have those soft skills, if you show those leadership attributes and the willingness to learn and being coachable, people are going to try to spend more time and teach you those processes. As you learn those processes, you're going to continue to grow. Take advantage of opportunities. Take advantages to learn. I have a quote that I love, and the quote is, "Mind is a terrible thing to waste." Continue to learn. For me, I'll be learning every day is a learning opportunity. Learn a new concept, learn something different, and be able to apply that. But be open-minded, be coachable, be willing to go the extra mile, and good things will happen for you in your career.
Make sure it's for you. If you enjoy what you're doing, stick with it. You're going to do a lot of grunt work to begin with, and it's typical. But anytime you're given the opportunity to learn something new, don't just go along with that opportunity. Grab hold with both hands and make sure you own it, because every bit of knowledge that you gain on a manufacturing floor, that's just another bullet in your belt. So when you go to, argue for a raise or what your value is, you've got all those bullets in there. So yeah, just take advantage of any opportunity you get to learn, and do not be afraid to go do your own learning and your own research, and study on your own. When I first started at Wintech, I had probably about 2 hours between my end of work and when my classes started at Chattahoochee Tech. And the shop and the school just happened to be about 3 miles apart. Well, I stayed at work on my own time just to learn new machines or new cutting techniques, or just learning different stuff at the shop, so I could then go to school and be that much more knowledgeable when I was in school, and able to go, okay, well, I understand what you're trying to teach me now, but what's next? What's next? You should always be looking for, okay, but what's next? But make sure you understand and know what you have just absorbed. Make sure you retain it.
So I'm gonna assume here that most everyone on here is probably younger than my kids. Right? Is that fair to say? My kids are pretty old. So I mean, I
Depends
think the
on what's
first,
pretty old.
well, I would say, for the first thing, for younger folks, and is one, like, figure out how to develop the disciplines, make your bed every morning, right? Like, that's a really good start. Like, it seems weird, it's corny, whatever. I didn't make mine when I was a kid, but eventually you learn that's a good habit. So it's about building those good habits and those good disciplines, right, to support your career growth. And then I think, another important thing is, particularly find a company that you want to work for, that promotes your personal development, your learning, right? I said it's important to be able to, a skill set is being able to learn, but it's good to match that up with a company that wants to support that. And, I think John can probably speak more to that. I'm sure, as he said, there's not a lot of machining courses, et cetera, as there was at one time in the school systems as there used to exist. So I'm pretty sure he'd tell you that if he finds someone that wants to learn, he'll teach them how to machine and program and all that. So find that company that wants to invest. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the technical side. It could be the soft skills if you want to be a supervisor. It could be going on to get a 4-year. There's a lot of companies that'll pay to extend your education, whether it be at the technical schools in a trade, or even a 4-year degree in data analytics, right, or data science. That exists as well. So I think it's important to find those companies that want to invest in your development.